Have you ever felt like prayer is a one-sided conversation? After all, God knows everything, right? So why bother talking to him then? That's a question that has puzzled many, leading some to the very point of this topic today of why pray. But what if uh, prayer is more than just the request line? What if prayer has has a power that goes beyond the simple getting what you want? I'd like to talk to you about a couple of things today concerning prayer. But throughout history, people of all faiths have turned to prayer for comfort, and guidance, and strength. It's a universal human impulse, a longing for connection with something greater than ourselves. And when we look at prayer from a Christian perspective, there's no difference in that aspect, in that longing, in that human impulse. But when we think about prayer to God, if God already knows our needs and our desires and even our deepest secrets, why should we pray to Him? Why should we have this pull for prayer? Well, the answer is in the transformative power of prayer itself. And so, like I said, when you think about prayer, there's three things that you have to consider. The first being that prayer is a sacred dialogue, not a monologue. Because prayer is just not about asking God for things, it's really a two-way conversation, a sacred dialogue where we express our deepest emotions and fears and hopes. And in this exchange, what we do is we draw closer to God because we want to deepen our relationship with Him. Anybody that you want to have an intimate connection with, you have to be willing to draw closer to them. And communications should be a dialogue between to exchange between you two versus a monologue where somebody's always talking and the other person really doesn't have anything to say. Not only that, when you think about prayer, what it does, it transforms us, not just our circumstances. That's why it's important to pray to God. Prayer, what it does, it changes us from the inside out, and it humbles us, but thereby shifting our perspectives and realigning our priorities with the will of God. Because when you pray, what happens is you open yourself to God's wisdom and allowing Him then to mold you into the person He created you to be. And thirdly, prayer invites us to participate in God's work. When we look at God's plan uh, for the world in its grand, as a grand tapestry, for instance, and through prayer, what happens then is we become active participants in weaving it. In other words, when we begin to see God's plan working not only in us, but in situations around us, we then become a part of that. We become willing participants. So our prayers, what happens then, it can bring uh, forth comfort to hurting people when we pray for people that are hurting. It brings strength to weak people when we pray for people to be weak, strengthened. Our prayers of hope for the lost will help those that are lost to be found, thereby participating in God's work here on this earth. And our prayers can even move mountains and shift the course of history. They really can. So the next time you wonder why you pray, remember that prayer is so much more than just asking for things. It's a conversation with God, a journey of transformation, an invitation to join God in His work. Because prayer is not about changing God's mind; it's about changing our hearts. And that, my friend, is a power worth embracing. Wouldn't you agree? I invite you to make prayer a regular part of your life. Experience the peace and clarity and joy that comes from connecting with God through prayer. Be blessed.